There's two parts to the 9 days in Tisha B'Av. There's Avelus and feeling, as we just discussed, that Hashem's crying. He's in agony, if you will. The Shekhinah is in agony over the fact that Klal Yisrael is in the situation is, and Torah and Torah's representatives are, despised or looked down upon, objects of contempt. These are reasons to cry. And we said when you cry or even feel bad, you're emulating Hashem. Imo Anochi B'Tzara, Hashem, first of all, is connected to the pain much more than we could be. And again, this is tragic, especially, tell me your name again. As Yitzhak said, it doesn't have to be this way. When we had a Beis HaMikdash Baruch with Shlomo Melech, it wasn't like that. The world adored us and admired us and flocked to Shlomo Melech to hear his wisdom, okay? So that's number one. There's Avelus we must do. If we're reducing Simcha, right, which I said is psychologically really healthy, to take a little break from laughing and joking around and all this stuff, it's cleansing for your being and psychologically, okay? But now, the next thing is fixing, okay? Because again, it says that if I don't have to go into big details, but everyone knows why the second Beis HaMikdash was destroyed. So the Gemara says Sinat Chinam, right? But I want to use the Chafetz Chaim's explanation. The Chafetz Chaim's emphasis was, what destroyed the Beis HaMikdash? Lashon Hara. The Sinas Chinam, it led to Lashon Hara and backstabbing, all sorts of terrible things. But he said Lashon Hara is let's say it was the Averas whose Koach, Hashem Yerachem, can bring down a Beis HaMikdash, can cause so much suffering. I think many people have heard, it's all based on the Chafetz Chaim, the Ramchal, that's the way the court systems work. When we speak Lashon Hara on people, it is unbelievable what comes back, okay, to the Jewish people and us. So now, obviously we want to work on it, and people work on it in many ways. I want to tell you what I did. There's a Rav, I live in Har Nof, and I spoke to a Rav who's written over 20 books on Ahavta Re'acha Kamocha. From a halakha perspective, it's taught in the schools, in the Beis Yaakov and everything. It's phenomenal. His name is David Aryav. 20 books. I think you will agree with me, he's probably an expert about Bein Adam L'Chavero. So I said, Rav Aryav, what can we do about Lashon Hara? What's a good strategy to work on it? It's not just so easy to control your speech. He says you have to work on Dan Lachaf Schus, to judge people favorably or to not judge people negatively. And when he said that, I said, boom, that's exactly it. If you don't attack the underlying trigger, you don't have a chance. You don't have a chance. So we have to work on what wells up when we see people, right? And so that's what I want to do right now. I want to give you some very practical strategies to work on judging people favorably. Okay? So it's really, but the real thing right now is also Sor Meira. How do we stop judging people negatively? Okay? So you heard, I see that I'm not the only one who observed this, but what happens when you judge someone negatively? You're jumping to a conclusion. You hear? Your mind is jumping. A jump is like very quick and impulsive. Okay? You're jumping to conclusions that are not necessarily true. Okay? I want to tell you just one story, and I learned this from, I had a non-Jewish professor. He was like an international consultant, and he brought me in on a project, and there were several other people in this project. We were working with a team in London, and we were in Holland, okay? So there was a guy on the London team who, there was a really important meeting, and this guy doesn't show up. And, it was super important that the whole team was there. So we're all saying, what's wrong with this guy? No one will figure it out. His name was Joe. What's going on with Joe? And so we were all like that, But my professor, he said, I know Joe. He's a professional. And the only reason he's not here must be something like an emergency or something serious. And lo and behold, he was sick in the hospital.
Wow.
Yeah. So I learned that a strong one there. He did not jump to a conclusion, right? And it was humbling, and it stuck with me. So that's what we want to do, right? Yes, please.
I had one also.
Please.
Walking in the old city, there was a path down by the Zoltal, the store.
Right.
And I was walking and minding my business, and there were two people there.
Come a little closer just so we can hear you.
I was walking on this path, and there was only a little bit of space to go by, and I was like, Slicha, they didn't move. And I got a little mad inside. So I passed them, I looked back, and they're deaf.
Oh, wow. They're deaf.
They were
yeah.
deaf.
Like, why aren't they,
And
excuse me.
And the real kapsuk was, maybe they can't hear me.
Exactly.
But I thought they were like, oh my gosh, like they were pushing me against the wall. There's a railing.
And you're saying, please, excuse me. And they're not listening. Well, guess what? They were deaf. Fantastic. Fantastic. This is, by the way, since we just did it, one of the ways to work on this is to read stories and listen to stories about it. There's a book called The Other Side of the Story. It's all about that, and the Havetz Chaim Foundation puts out a lot of things. These stories, like you go, whoa, like that. So that's number one. Don't forget Joe. Joe, who was in the hospital. Okay, that's one way to work on it. But I want to give you a set of possibilities of how to work on this. Besides that. So that's one. By the way, whoever's listening and also here, if you're interested, I have a whole set of how many exercises? It's actually 10. I'm not going to do them all necessarily now, but please email me at rabbiwegbreit@gmail.com, Wegbreit, and I'll send you this list, okay? But that was one, is to go over stories at least once a week, okay? I'm going to leave with a very practical suggestion, but first I want to give you some more ideas, okay? Again, right now, we're in the repair section, okay? And if we can cut the poisonous root of Lashon Hara, which is judging people negatively, that's progress. That we can say, Hashem, look, we're trying, please have mercy, okay? So, number one is listen to stories, search for stories where people got surprised and found out, guess what? I shouldn't have judged negatively. Okay, that's number one. Here's another one. Yeah, I'm just trying to think if I should organize these. Yeah, well, right now I'm just hitting some highlights, okay? If you really want to be working seriously, you should say, Bli Neder Hashem, I am going to get a journal, right? Journaling is super popular these days. Everyone's talking about, right? But how about a Dan L'Chafskos journal, okay, where, let's say, yeah, please.
By the way, Lashon Hara, it's also politically correct. It's not, it's when you see someone do bad things, and you tell him, you talk to him in a kapsul. You need to do tochacha.
Right.
So you need to understand that sometimes judgment is lashon tov. and you need to do it, and you need to fight for it. And a lot of Orthodox people don't do it. They choose the politically correct, and they do a very big sin because a lot of people continue doing that.
Okay, since we're working on this midah, this characteristic, Yitzhak's bringing an important point, okay? And I was just listening to people on this. If you see someone do something incorrect according to the Torah, and you are sure that it's incorrect, or maybe even sometimes if you suspect it's not correct, it's good to approach the person and point it out to them, okay? Not to say, he's not doing anything wrong. So there are times you have to be careful. And by the way, but Lashon Hara, when we say, unless you're speaking to the person's rabbi or somebody who's going to mashpia, who's going to influence them, most of the time when you say that, look at that jerk, or whatever, you're speaking Lashon Hara. And the rules of Lashon Hara is go rebuke the person, don't speak about him. Okay, good. So, all right. So anyhow, if you really want to work on it hard or well, get a journal, or if you have a journal. And by the way, part of what I try to work on, I have a background in psychology. I try to work on how to adopt these practices, but right now I want to give you a menu. And even if it's a difficult one, I might not say start with it. I want you to hear it. So you take a journal. Lichatchila, in the 9 days, you're thinking of an example of where you didn't judge correctly and you fix it or this and that. But go back in the past even. Think about people that you've judged, that you have a lot of negativity toward, and judge. Spin something positive about them. Another thing is this, I was explaining to my kids, that it's not, sometimes they did something wrong, okay? But you look at them with compassion, as you don't say they were motivated to do harm to me or evil or negatively. Pardon?
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean?
It doesn't matter.
No, I agree you rebuke if it's it, but I'm saying in the past people have maybe done things to us and they were wrong, okay? They were absolutely wrong. But what we can do and fulfill the mitzvah is say to ourselves, okay, he did the wrong thing, but maybe he's suffered a lot, and he has a kind of trigger response, and I felt harm from that. But so I'm saying is work on looking at negative in a positive light within the rules of halacha. Okay, so now that's another thing. Look, I thought of a really good one. Here's an easy one, okay? For those of you who read the news or look at the news, okay, and you see news that is anti-Israel, maybe there'll be a little news like that you might come across, okay? So it is easy for us who live here and know and understand these biases. We see they're not judging us favorably, and we can look at it another way, right? So here you go. Practice the skill. Just be conscious. I can defend that, right? Now, but I just want to point out to you, and this is maybe the most important thing I'm going to say right now. It's not accidental. When we judge our fellow Jews negatively, right? Guess what? The Goyim are going to judge us negatively. Okay? There is definitely a correspondence here. This is what Hashem's trying to show us. Okay? So that's another profoundly important reason to work on spinning, but we're talking about the mitzvah towards Jews, right? To spin it in the positive to the degree you can. Okay? So here's I want to, now I kind of want to, okay. I want to give you now a very practical approach to do this, and how I would like us to have a Dan Lachavskus habit. if we have that habit, according to the qualifications of halacha, if someone, for example, we know is a wicked person and he's consistently doing, and he's been rebuked by the Beis Din and he's not listening, I'm not talking about that case.
Not a Bilam case.
Yeah, right, not a Bilam. I'm not talking about the case. I'm talking about our fellow Jews. Okay, so here's the thing. And this is something I'm really trying to work on with Kavah and Mitzvahs. Number one, you see we're doing things in the moment, but also I don't want it to be, when I used to give Musar in the yeshiva, I would say, please don't make this a TV show where you watched a little and you were entertained and that's it, is gone, right? So I want to suggest, how do we really make this a practice? Now, I can't force you to do it, but here's some reality about our psychology we have to acknowledge. So, let me just do the order here. Yeah, this is a great point. I heard this idea. Can't remember the exact location, but listen to this. First of all, you do have to make a commitment, okay? If you don't feel a commitment, it's not going to happen. Okay, so number one, let's say Bli Neder Kadosh Baruch Hu, I want to work on one of the root causes of Lashon Hara, Dan L'Chaf Schus, instead of Dan L'Chaf Chov, I'm committed to work on this, Kadosh Baruch Hu. If you don't commit, that's number one, it's not going to happen. Next thing, okay, if you don't set a time, it's not going to happen. I know this is true. I'm motivated to do things, and you're not, raise your hands if you have been doing formal Dan L'Chavskus work. You haven't, right? So what are you going to do most of the day? Does anyone know what you're going to do? What you've been doing, right? It's very hard to integrate a new, even if it's important and you're committed, to integrate it into your daily life unless, one, you're committed, and two, you set a time that you're going to do it. Okay? So that's number two. Let me run through the scheme. So if you don't commit, it's not going to happen. Don't set a time, it's not going to happen. Next, if you don't set a reminder, you can have the time. I'm going to work on it when I'm putting away my tefillin, right? But you will forget unless there's some either visual or audio reminder, okay? And then my wife adds one more thing. If you don't start small, it won't continue, okay? So I just gave you some rules of doing these things, okay? But now okay? Now I want one more rule. You have to make it easy to begin with, okay? So here's the thing, in these 10 ideas, of all the ones, I think this one is the easiest. We'll do it right now. And then let's try to do the scheme as well, okay? Okay, everyone's heard these ideas of affirmations, where you just you make a statement, right? Affirmation. Everyone's familiar with the idea. You make a statement, all right? But here here's the thing. We said at the beginning, we jump to the wrong conclusion. How do you stop jumping to the wrong conclusion? Why do you jump to the wrong conclusion? Because you have a netiya, an inclination to look at things negatively. How do you change that? How do you change the jump to that way? So you have to kind of insert some positive psychology or positive spin, so that you'll go to that instead of the negative. Okay, you gonna say something?
Yes. People need to understand also that the tikkun of every man show you your face in a mirror. So if you judge someone, it's the fault of you. So you need to understand when you judge someone and talk lashon hara, you judge yourself. So you need to be compassionate because God probably show your face to yourself, and you need to learn from that and grow from that and be patient when you in the situation that you judge.
All right, so I just thought of a great one from Yitzhak, is that when you look in the mirror in the morning to brush your teeth, okay, just look at yourself and just sort of remind yourself, I'm not perfect, yet Hashem tries his best to not jump to the negative about me, okay? Right. Yes, please.
It's even stronger, deeper than that. It's what also what Yitzhak's saying. That how many people wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and don't judge themselves favorably?
You're saying they don't.
Their own self,
oh, okay, good. Yeah. Okay, I know. That's the problem when you work on midot, on character traits. It's very deep, and there's a lot going on. Okay, so this is Right. No. I'm going to bring what you're saying in. It's really valuable. Okay.
It's important that you judge.
Well.
Hold on, let him finish.
Oh, no, but, all right, no, okay, there's a lot going on here, everybody. But I think we're doing a little iyun. We're going deeply into this idea about judging people negatively, okay? So, and how do we reverse it? Because it's natural. But, it says, Leiv Adam Ra Minu Urav, right? That our heart, to give us free will, we have a propensity this is the Malbim on Mishlei. We have a propensity to jealousy and arrogance and a lot of negative traits, okay? And the Yetzer Hara knows what David is saying, that if you can get down on yourself and judge yourself, it says in Avos, don't judge yourself as a Russia. So if you... That all is instinctual, right? But Hashem wants to make us great. So he says, overcome these instincts. So how do we do that? Okay? So actually, I think it is good to maybe start with Dove's point. Why do we have a gut reaction to look at the person negatively? It can stem because we're hypercritical of ourselves, okay? And therefore, what do you call it? We have to work on that. So I love this mirror idea, and I want to use it two ways. Okay, everybody see one. Yeah, it's a two-way mirror. Very good. Oh, it certainly is. Okay, everybody. One of the ways I told you, if you don't create a system to make these character improvements, you will go back to automatic behavior. So there's a lot, you need Chachma. That's why I use the Chachmas Agoyim for these things, okay? So one of the things is I say, if you don't, you have to kind of remember to do the activity, and it has to be this famous thing from Atomic Habits, it has to be easy to do. And it has to be connected to your daily behavior, okay? So, I think most everybody brushes their teeth in front of the mirror, okay? Now, Jews do this in the bathroom, so you have to be careful not to think about Torah thoughts, okay? But you could do this. You look in the mirror, and let's say you look and say, look at yourself and say, you're trying, you mean well, right? Just say something like compassionate about yourself. I'm trying, I mean well. You're not being arrogant, right? But that's positive. You're trying and you mean well, okay? So now you're training yourself to not look at yourself critically, and that could also be mashpia. But the other thing is to think, when you look at yourself, he knows what I do, and he still tries his best to judge me favorably. Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem does, right? So you can sort of remind yourself, if Hashem's doing that, maybe I should. Okay, so these are some mirror exercises, okay? And you're always going to look at the mirror. But you must, if you must be committed to this, okay? I can't force you to do this, but it's unbelievable. You know, the Vilna Gaon says that the reason we came into this world, the whole reason we're given life, is to work to improve the character deficiency we haven't improved yet. And he says, if we're not doing this, he says, I don't know why we're alive. I don't know why we're granted life. Working on your character is huge. It's also emulating Hashem's perfection is a big mitzvah. Okay? So, one thing is, you'll thank me later. One thing is this, is that we need to commit to this, you know, at least in the 9 days. How about that? In the 9 days, I'm working on judging people favorably. Okay? Then we have to set a time. Okay? The time is when you look in the mirror. Okay? When you look in the mirror, you have to look at yourself and say, hey, I'm trying and I mean well. Okay? But remember, you're doing that so you'll also, when you see someone else, you say, he's trying and he means well. You hear? And then also remember, you looking at yourself, but it's like David says, it's a two-way mirror. Hashem is looking at you. And Hashem he knows. He looks at us in a positive way. He doesn't jump to negative conclusions. Let us do the same. Let us emulate Hashem. You hear this? That was going to say, I'll just give you one more. And like I said, I have material on this. Reach out to me if you'd like it. But the other thing is to say the following statement on a daily basis is, I am only seeing part of the picture. Okay? Well, the example David gave was great. He's walking behind two people. He says, excuse me, I need to pass. Excuse me, I need to pass. And they're ignoring him. And then he finds out they're deaf, right? David from behind was seeing only part of the picture. Who has the whole picture? Hashem. What's my job? Ayin Tova, to look at people in a positive light. Okay? So, we have to anchor this to some daily activity. But, I'm also thinking for women. I mean, it would be amazing, let's say after you say Modet, no, it's a little bit Torah. After you say Birkas Torah in the morning, okay, you have to write this in your siddur if you're going to remember this. But after you say Birkas Torah, you could say the following. When I look at people, I'm only seeing a part of the picture. Only Hashem knows the whole picture. And my job is to have an ayin tovah. Okay? Say that on a daily basis. Okay? See, what are we trying to do? We're trying to stop jumping to the negative. Okay? And the way to do that is we have to have a new go-to underneath in our mind, and so we get triggered latov. Okay? So anyhow,
I'll give you something that might help.
Okay, please.
This is there's sometimes people around that you want to run away from.
Right.
I do anyway. Not usual. But every now and then it's like
a little louder so people can hear. Yeah.
So Y.Y. Jacobson was talking about, different korbanot and different smells that Hashem, that we're supposed to bring, and that in order for the korban to be accepted, that, there were several things in there that were, that were from all different sources, etc.
Right.
And I just remember him saying, he says, and some of them are really nasty.
Nasty smelling, yeah.
Really nasty smelling.
Right.
He said, but they're part of it. But they're part of it. And so, you get the mushal,
Yes.
It was supposed to. It absolutely helped me when I saw this one person or whatever that came to mind that I did not do what I had done in the past, which was like, try to,
Steer away from him.
steer away from him. And I would like, good morning or good afternoon or I'm fine, how are you, like that.
Beautiful.
And it worked.
And it worked.
Yeah, it
So
worked.
let me make sure everyone heard that. Rev Jacobson Shlita, he had I probably was talking about the Katoris, the incense. Some of the spices that are necessary for this Katoris, which is such a amazingly important korban to Hashem. Some of it smells bad, yet it's part of it. So Ronnie just shared that there's a person, the instinct, avoid him, negative feelings, etc. But he realized that, all these things are something that lead to something, a pleasing fragrance to Hashem. And amazing, he greeted him and acted differently. These things are huge. I want to make a thing. In the world we live in, Olam Hazeh, in the working world, Olam Hazeh, you have to work very hard to get success, to make money, to make a huge success. I know sometimes people get it lucky, and we would say bracha. But the thing is this: when you do these things, that they're not small in the slightest sense. One time you act differently towards a person, Hashem, there's nothing in Olam Hazeh that can be fitting to compensate you in the eyes of Hashem. Hear that? So these are huge things at a hugely important time. So Hashem should help us. Again, thank you for joining us, Kanvanu Mitzvahs Foundation, where we're trying to make everything we do not mindless, but meaningful, leading to Dveikus, and just appreciating what a schus it is to be connected to Hashem and the Torah.
It's